I don't know what kind of hell is waiting for me there, but I've got no other choice. I don't care about God or paradise. If that's what she believes in, that's fine. But she won't get away with what she did. When I find her, I'll kill her myself. Here's your look at the new Numskull Collectibles Silent Hill 3 Heather Mason 9-inch replica statue. Heather Mason steps forth from her torturous ordeal in the renowned horror game Silent Hill 3 as a spectacular official statue. Standing at 10 inches tall, this remarkable recreation features her orange turtleneck and white vest ensemble, with a flashlight in her front pocket and a gun in her hand. This sculpture also presents attentive details such as the carousel-themed base and a Robbie the Rabbit prop fans will adore. For avid fans of the Silent Hill franchise, this collectible will make an exquisite centerpiece for their collection. I'm getting that feeling we better get this review underway before the sirens start to sound. Just before we get a closer look at the official Silent Hill 3 Heather Mason limited edition statue, if I can, I'd like to thank the folks over at Numskull that did provide this sample we could have a look at. Heather Mason from Silent Hill 3 will also be joining the Silent Hill 2 Pyramid Head and the Silent Hill 2 Bubblehead Nurse, both limited edition statues that the company are planning to produce. I can't wait to see that Pyramid Head. I'm super excited. I'm a big fan of Pyramid Head. Heather Mason, though, stands about 9.5 inches in height. Yes, she does. Or the statue is going to be about 24 centimeters tall. The statue, while being made of plastic, has been very carefully hand-painted, and you can see really the work that the talented artist behind the scenes at Numskull put into the statue when we get down to looking at even just the carousel base alone. The carousel base that Mason is standing on top of has been very intricately detailed. You can see, for example, the crimson red been used here with the additional nods to the yellow and the browns that would have replicated the look that it would have had in the original Silent Hill 3 game. While though being made of plastic, it does evoke sort of the idea that it's been made of metal by the additional rusting paint that they've added to the top of it. Really, again, makes it give some wear and tear to the base itself. Now, there is a little bit of bleed in some of the areas here when we look at the outer area, for example, of the carousel base. There are a few little sections, for example, like the crimson has made its way onto the beige. But I'm okay really with that, considering the neglect that the entire city really is experiencing anyways, that I would imagine that like some of the things like a carousel base, for example, would have wear and tear done to it. So in a way, it sort of adds a little bit of extra charm by the fact that there is a little bit of this. This could also, you could chalk it up to being a little bit of extra blood splattered on the side of it as well. Not only on that side, but also around this as well, you get to see all these extra little lights that they've added. None of the lights do illuminate, but you have alternating colors of green, red, and yellow. On the top, though, of the base, as you may have already saw him, there's Robbie the Rabbit. Though colored here in pink, all the colors used, though, are very dark and grimy, like the rabbit's been neglected for a while. I love the additional red that they've added smeared across the front of his face. It still gives you, though, a chance to see the tiny little buck teeth that he has inside his mouth, and some blood has made its way also onto its bow tie. It's a really cool looking rabbit. And speaking of the touches to detail, I'm just going to spin this around and hopefully you guys can see that in between Heather Mason's legs, you can see there's sculpted and painted a very tiny zipper on the back of the rabbit's body. Speaking of Mason herself, though, as we spin the statue around and get a closer look at the face, bruised and battered and otherwise discontent by her surroundings, we have Heather Mason here with a little cut there on the side of her cheek, and quite red around the areas of her eyes as well. The skin tone for her face, for example, isn't quite the same skin tone that they use for her arms or the soon-to-be-looked-at legs, but it's still pretty close enough. I do like the use of the additional red that they've added around her eyes. It adds a sense of bruised and batteredness to the figure's face, and I also really like the more natural color of blonde that they went with as well. Sometimes blonde doesn't always translate well, especially when it's painted more artificially, but you can see like the color of blonde that they chose here looks more natural. May have had also something to do with the fact they probably darkened the colors, maybe have used a brown or something underneath it first, and then strand the blonde over top of it. It does make it for a much more realistic looking natural blonde. She of course does have the gun there drawn already, and she's actually got it resting against. I can't tell really whether she's dealing with a wound on the side of her face or more just having her gun drawn back ready to use it. But the gun has been, again, very carefully painted there in both black and the additional brown for the handle. Oranges are happening here not only for her wristbands. One wristband, by the way, does have her watch. Again, for the smallest of details, been very carefully painted by the talented team. And she also has, of course, like in the game, her turtleneck sweater. No sleeves on the turtleneck, but she does have a longer turtleneck on the back there. You can see like both lighters and darker colors of orange being used here. And of course, as well, she also has her vest. Now, like in the game, she also does have the flashlight there tucked into the vest, but it's all one piece, so you wouldn't be able to remove it. But you can see, like, the actual flashlight looks quite good. Very, very, very well painted. Because again, like if you had this, say for example, and you had white all around it, there's always really a potential that some of this could have dripped on or bled on, for example, the white around it. But very well painted, very nicely done. The green also is carried over here down to her skirt, although it's not really quite the same green. It's been stretched across her legs, and where natural wrinkles would start to develop on skirting anyways is also very captured well here to the statue. As we spin this around, you can see as well this really nice dark green that they've used is really well. Actually, really as a whole, like the statue's painted extremely well. The colors that are normally bright in the game would be bright, like on her outfit, for example, and then the colors that are more muted and grimier, like for example, Robbie the Rabbit, again, well painted. Something I also really like about the statue is the way they've painted her boots. It looks to be the way the light hits it, sort of more than just one color. It looks like there's probably even 2 or 3 darker colors in some areas with the light hitting it, kind of giving us a more kind of glowing brown. It's a really nice, well-painted boot on her. All in all, it's a nice looking statue. There's a little bit of a departure when it comes to really the skin tone. Like, for example, like her arms do have more of a sheen to it, so they look a little bit more sweatier, for example. And like the arms, to be fair, do match the colorings of her legs, but they don't quite match the colorings of her face. Now, again, you could say simply just because, again, like she's got some bruising, like she probably has been up all night anyways. You can see like some of that's really been reflected in her face. Now, I do wish that they could have added maybe a little more of this kind of skin tone to some of the areas of her face, for example, because the skin on her face is a little too pale. But all in all, though, it's a really, really nice made statue. The thing I really also like about it is the fact that they brought in elements from the game, not only just the character of Heather Mason herself, but also found a way to use the carousel, for example, as the display base. That was really also a nice touch. And by also throwing in a very bloodied Robbie the Rabbit is also a really nice accent piece. All in all, though, it's a really nice looking statue. One that we will be looking at, again, this is the first of many that they're going to be doing for Silent Hill. This is the Silent Hill 3 Heather Mason, but they're also planning, as I already mentioned, they're going to be doing a Silent Hill 2 Pyramid Head and also the Bubblehead Nurse. And I can't wait to see those. As being a big fan of Silent Hill, especially Pyramid Head, I'm really liking what I'm seeing so far from the folks over at Numskull. I can't believe I called Silent Hill a city. The town of Silent Hill, and one of at least the temporary residents there, Heather Mason's been nicely done here from Numskull. Now, if you guys are interested to get this one, or as already mentioned, they are planning to do as well a Pyramid Head and a Bubblehead Nurse. The one I think I'm the most actually interested in, even though I really like the look of Heather Mason, is definitely the Pyramid Head, and I can't wait to see that one in person. Now, if you guys are interested to get these for yourself, if you go actually over to Numskull's site, when you go to click on, like you want to shop for those statues, they'll usually then as well give you other places where you can go and purchase the statue for yourself. Now here, because I am Canadian, I ended up going actually to, I think one of the sites, I don't know if it was Sideshow or one of the other sites, but it actually did list the statue at $186.20. That's 186.20 Canadian. Of course, you'd have to do a little bit of the conversion to figure out what that would be in US, or of course, if you are clicking the link down below, it should convert it, of course, to the currency you're currently using. But I think for 186, you're getting a pretty nice looking statue overall, well painted. And of course, the first statue of what will be, I'm guessing right now, as of a trilogy, I'm sure with many more statues planned. Once again, a big thank you to the folks over at Numskull that did provide this sample of the new Silent Hill 3, official Silent Hill 3 Heather Mason limited edition statue. If you guys enjoyed this video, I want to hit it with a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing, and you certainly do want to stick around for more, if you haven't already done so, of course, you can always go the route of hitting that subscribe button down below. That helps you as well if you turn on the bell notification to get always those reminders of anything that's new that's posted behind the scenes by the person that's behind the camera. Of course, there's definitely going to be a lot more videos coming your way, guys, so as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.